this could be kind of the weekend, couldn't it, for Leicester to set sail and for the reality to set in that Southampton are motoring.
Probably won't be first against second, will it? If we're just assuming that Southampton are just going to keep winning and winning and winning, then it might be a switch of positions again. We discussed this on Blue Monday, who that actually puts the pressure on, because on the one hand, Leicester have got a nice comfortable cushion. But if Ipswich were to go to Leicester and win, all of a sudden you're looking at 6 points taken out of Leicester in 2 games, assuming Leeds and Southampton both won. But obviously, everyone's jockeying for those automatic spots, and the overtake has been in the offing for a while. Ipswich kept them at bay this week, but going to Leicester away is, in theory, the hardest game you can get. How are you seeing it?
Yeah, it's interesting that. I'd say for the first time in quite a while, there might be a little bit of pressure on Leicester. Yeah.
That's what Craig on the Blue Monday podcast said, and I sort of fired back at him on that one. But
I think inevitably,
I think you agree with him.
Yeah, I think inevitably the Ipswich players that have got themselves in this brilliant position will be looking over their shoulders to a degree and keeping tabs on how Southampton are doing. And of course, it'll be a blow if they take care of business against Swansea and draw themselves level. But then I think Leicester will probably be a little bit concerned about Southampton as well. And having lost at Coventry, if Ipswich could go there and produce something special, spectacular. I mean, Fatahu's going to be missing now as well.
Maresca is going to have a touchline ban, which could be big as well.
I think are they down to just Tom Cannon now?
So Iheanacho's out with Nigeria, isn't he?
Listen, I'm not saying these problems are going to magnify and it's going to be a horrendous fall off. That's the furthest from my mind right now, because I think they're the best team. But I think there'll be a little bit of pressure on them here for the first time. And I think Ipswich, there is a degree of pressure because this could be kind of the weekend, couldn't it, for Leicester to set sail and for the reality to set in that Southampton are motoring and they've gone potentially above Ipswich in the race. So I'm not sure where the pressure is. How do you see it faring anyway? Let me put it on you. What were your biggest takeaways from the win over Sunderland?
It's difficult with that win over Sunderland because there was so much of it that was sort of putting bandages over things. At the back, Edmondson was great, so there was no drop-off from Burgess going. Obviously, Morsey and Luongo have been fantastic, and Travis stepped in and did as you would expect. Taylor struggled a little bit, but kind of kept up his end. So you're going in against Dewsbury Hall and Winks without your first choice midfielders, which is a problem. And then, of course, Caden Jackson, people will look back and see he got his goal. But you've said to me numerous times, particularly about that game where you scored twice at Leeds for Ipswich, that sometimes you don't look at the goals for the performance. You said you played badly in that game and scored twice. And you said there's other games you thought you played brilliantly and contributed and didn't score. So it's difficult not to get wrapped up in Caden Jackson scoring. But I guess, Sam, given their place in the table, their squad, if you could escape with a draw, knowing that would keep you second with 18 games to go and knowing you've played Leeds twice and Leicester twice already and got that done, I'm sure a lot of Ipswich fans would shake hands on the draw. It would be complete chaos, though, if all Leeds, Southampton and Ipswich won. And that gap will closed up, though. But you've got to make Leicester strong favourites, haven't you, Sam?
Yeah, of course you do. I mean, that's a really good outcome, I think, a draw for Ipswich. Just on their winning goal against Sunderland. That's 2 games in succession I've watched of Ipswich. I mean, how many teams are not going to get to grips with Ipswich's outswingers from free kicks, from corners? I mean, I must have seen them score 4 or 5 goals. The corner kick they love, and Broadhead profited from it at AFC Wimbledon. It got about 17 deflections, but the outswinging corner to the kind of the near post just outside the 6-yard box for someone to run on and strike. And Leif Davis to Chaplin has just been happening throughout the season, yet Sunderland clearly hadn't looked at it or didn't follow the manager's instruction.
What I'd say is they're so heavily trained. It's Charlie Turnbull who does the set plays. I think Leif Davis needs so much credit because we think every week he's being given a different playbook and he just puts them exactly where he should every time. So, yeah, I agree. Everyone knows that Leif Davis is a huge threat. And, there's this, the Teddy Sheringham, Darren Anderton corner for people of our age. But I do think Davis deserves a load of credit for just turning up every week, memorising the new load of plays and delivering them as well. So I think there's two sides to it, isn't there?
Yeah, and putting the disappointment of the Leeds game behind him. Great delivery. I thought he had a really good game, actually. And, yeah, it's such a big part of their Arsenal. That was a bit David Brent, wasn't it? Yeah, he's a massive part of it. You could jot down, 7 or 8 things just at the top of your head that make this Ipswich team tick and what makes them so hard to defend against. And he's a massive part of it. I've said, copious amounts of times that I've spoken to people within the game and they're desperately trying to get their left-sided player to kind of have that in their makeup, to have a left-sided player who can do that role so they can play the little lopsided back three and what have you. So yeah, he's had a phenomenal season, double figures now, isn't it? And he'll be big at the weekend. But Leicester, who's been there? Leeds and Hull have been there, haven't they? And won. I think they're the two outliers.
Interestingly, both 1-0. They both had to keep a clean sheet to beat Leicester, right?
Yeah, and just on the striker as well, this is going to be a completely different test if they go for Caden Jackson up against a team that's hardly conceded at the King Power this season. Very, very standout defenders, across the whole piece. I think they've been majestic. I think the two centre halves and Ricardo as well, Ricardo Pereira. So this is a different proposition for him. But yeah, fair play to him, Jackson, getting the goal and doing a pretty good job up there.
Mouthwatering matchup then is Leicester versus Ipswich next Monday night.